getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
Welcome, race fans, to the start of another thrilling event of Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series. Round 7 is coming to you live on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Today we are live from Norway in the Slow Motion Broadcasting booth at the Rudskogen Motor Center, a thrilling 14-corner course in a 2.02 mile race course filled with major elevation changes, blind crests, and long, flowing corners that reward bravery and punish hesitation. In Formula 4 machinery, the track becomes a momentum circuit. Drivers who maintain minimum speed and link corners together will dominate today's event. So Dylan, we've seen a lot of drivers push the limits in today's practice, a lot of spins we've seen so far. Clearly, we can see the enjoyment of race control, making the decision to end these rain races throughout the season, and track conditions have now become testy. Given that it is our first really proper drive race, how do you think this will change what we have seen from the first half of the season?
Well, it is quite interesting, right? Going from chances of rain and that being in the back of your mind when there were so many times where rain did come and did fall, that was the case, to now we know that it is all dry the rest of the way. I expect the back end to be a little bit more comfortable getting up to speed, being within a couple of seconds with most of the lead pack. I'm also expecting there to be a little bit more of a straight fight between some of the top drivers in this field, notably with Traver Burns and Max Lotto, who just continue to throw one after another back at each other. Last two races, both of them swapped positions. Traver Burns won last week, and the week before that, he finished in second, while, guess who won the week before, right? Where Traver Burns finished second, it was Max Lotto finishing first, and then they swapped positions. So it seems like that will continue to happen as we're on board with Lynn Lotto going through that chicane right there, just bounces up. And, you know, like we were saying, as you see this camera shot right here and you see the track way up above, it's around, what, 140 feet of elevation change throughout the circuit. I'll have to try and find that specifically. 42 meters, 138 feet. So I'll tell you what, Kevin, that is some massive numbers.
It really is. You can definitely tell throughout the elevation changes. A lot of it really comes through just through the absolute dip coming through turns 4, 5, 6, and 7. The elevation really drops, and you've got to climb your way back up the hill, getting back to the start-finish line. But you're absolutely right, as we're looking just past halfway in qualifying so far, with just over 6 minutes remaining. Max and Lotto, Trevor Burns, James McDonald, Jacob Guyton are top 4 right now, and then David Borden, who is a 2-time winner so far this season, all rounding out the top 5. It's kind of, even with the wet weather conditions we've had, the cream is still rising to the top, and we see this isn't going to really affect the way the championship presents itself, as we're looking at Jose Navas, who has certainly welcomed on a new addition to the family, and not unfortunately been able to put the effort into the car this year that we would have liked to have seen, but still putting out a pretty good run as we see him diving down into that very steep corner and going back up the hill. That's really where a lot of time is found and gained on this race course, as you can see him looking ahead and trying to set quite a faster lap. But so far as Max and Lotto, Trevor Burns, James McDonald, Jacob Guyton still on the board, as we're approaching just 5 minutes left in qualifying. Only a few more laps that these drivers will have to take.
Yeah, most of these drivers have made it 5 laps on the circuit right now, and these are their best times thus far. But we'll probably be able to get another 2 to 3 laps. 3 laps if you maximize most of your time. 4 even possible if you're just ending a lap right now. We count that. But yeah, times are showing in that low 120 range here. A little bit more about Rudskogen. How do we want to say it in a non-Americanized accent? Because I feel like Rudskogen, there's got to be a better way, right? Rudskogen? Help me out here. Don't let me speak to the
I've been calling it Rudskogen, but I'm very white and American and not probably pronouncing that correctly. But Rudskogen is about as good as we're going to get, as we see Trevor Burns pulling around a pretty good lap so far. Not maybe a pole sitting lap, but I think maybe he's set himself up. There we see ahead of him having a little bit of issues with lap traffic. That's kind of one of the things that makes the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series so incredible, is this isn't a normal official session where you get to take it easy on a purely clean track to set your fastest time. You do have to navigate lap traffic, and there you see the car in front of him having a little bit of a moment, almost clearing their way out of the way for Trevor Burns. I don't know if that really affected him in another car off to the right. I couldn't quite tell who that was, but that is really something that makes the way qualifying works here. You can find yourself where you just do not get the 15-minute qualifying session that you really want to have because of traffic. You just have to make sure it's lined up right. You find the space, and when you have such a perfect field like the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series does, with 21 cars on the racetrack at a small 2-mile circuit like Rudskogen Motor Center is, it's really completely filled the entire way around. It's very hard to find yourself enough track space between the cars on hot laps, cold laps, out laps, that you can really hit the perfect lap. And that's where we'll really see it, as we see Bob Eggert popping on the list, going into 11th position just behind Dan Swanbeck with the 121.438. But Max and Lotto still on board as we're approaching 3 minutes left in qualifying. Max and Lotto, a 1 minute 22nd 2:01 lap. So far the fastest by 3/10 over Trevor Burns with a 120.588. We do have to remember, this is really the first time a lot of these drivers have seen a truly dry track this season, and I think we are seeing some limitations from it. But I do also think, Dylan, one of the things we'll see the drivers have is there's not the condition issues that maybe gets them the tenths here or there a lap that they're used to so far that we found in the first half of the season. The track is dry. If you're fast, you're going to be fast, and more than likely stay fast, and it's going to be a lot harder to find a moment where you can really catch up.
Yeah, 100%. You know, could you imagine racing this track in the wet with all of the elevation changes and all of the quick left-to-right chicanes and just the sweeping corners here? You know, this track, which, by the way, I believe I've done some research. I believe it's Rudskogen. Rudskogen. Say it with me. Come on.
Rudskogen.
No.
Rudskogen.
No. Rudskogen, like school, like skoo.
Rudskogen.
Closer. We'll take it. We'll take it. We'll take it.
Rudskogen.
As the 2-minute Google searching expert that I am about this track's pronunciation says, but you know this. It wasn't until 2013 that this track kind of doubled in length and size, because yeah, it has been around since 1990. It's one of the newer tracks in just the world of motorsport, but it's relatively new in terms of this layout. And my goodness, it looks like it's straight out of another game that is on a PlayStation. Oh, as we see Nathan Perkins going for a little bit of a slide through that right-hand sweeping corner. I mean, in that game on PlayStation, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I kind of get what you're talking about, but I was, honestly, my eyes were ogling there. Nathan Perkins, I think, maybe repainted his car coming into this Rudskogen circuit there, and very nice white NASA scheme there, and I feel like for some reason I thought he drove a green turtle, but that is here nor there. But off the way he goes with a little bit of a moment, still in 7th, trying to complete a lap. I think this lap will still count. He hasn't gone off the track per se. Although had a moment, however, I don't think it's going to best his fastest time in 7th at a 1:21.078, and we're now getting into really the final moments. The last 30 seconds, you see James McDonald behind Nathan Perkins. They're going to have a chance to hit that line and have one more opportunity at a hot lap, as we're seeing Brian Rice trying to complete his, but now is really the time. If you have a fast lap, it's time to do it. We've seen Traver Burns really try and make something out of it, and he doesn't best his time. Still stuck at a 1:25.88. Not able to best his time there that lap around. So more than likely we'll see Max Milano hang on to this pole here, but Traver Burns did get past the start-finish line with just a couple seconds. So his next lap time will count if he chooses to take it. We look at James McDonald really cutting all of the curbing that he can. You can see him going through that section of 7, 8, 9, and that really just one of those sections where you have to take everything that you can to get the most out of the racetrack. See what kind of time he gets. He looks like he's on a clean lap, maybe not the quickest through the final corner, as he goes on the front straightaway and a little wide, riding that out. Doesn't quite near the curbs to get there. And he's definitely not near the front straightaway, so that is my apologies on not knowing where we're at on the racetrack, as we're seeing anybody trying to contest Max Lotto. Yeah, there we see the track map in the top right hand of the corner. There's just a couple cars left. So James McDonald there, you see him going across the front line. Sorry, I was a couple corners early. He does maybe best his time getting into 4th with a 1:28.96. And here we see David Borden, our 2-time race winner this season, kind of takes an interesting arc out of the final corner. I don't think this is the kind of lap he was looking for, and it wasn't. He will stay in 6th position. And then we see Nathan Perkins in the brand new NASA white machine. See if maybe he has any competition to get up into the podium. This would be big. I saw a lot in the garage where he'd practiced a lot. He had a lot of speed. It's going to be hard to tell if maybe he can put together a final lap that really gets himself up on the board. Currently sitting 7th with a 1:21.078. We're riding on board right above his head right now. You see him going through using every bit of the curve that he can, getting himself ready to the front stretch. He has to get wide all over the curving to get it maybe a little slow through the final sector, and he does kind of look to abort the lap. So that is all we have in qualifying here for the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 racing at the Rudskogen Motor Center. And
you tried.
What a good qualifying session we really had there. I will say, after having to stand underneath the broadcast tower in a lot of rain for the first half of the season, that was my favorite session to watch so far. But as we can see, we do have the grid ready and available. Cars already getting in the track, anxious to go. Max Unlotto, your pole sitter, with a 1:20.068. Alongside him, Traver Burns, just half a second behind him, which is a big gap. I don't think we will see that play an effect into the actual race. Then in the second row, we've got David Hirsch alongside James McDonald. In the third row, Jacob Guyton and David Borden. Fourth row, we've got Nathan Perkins and Jose Navas. And in the fifth row, we've got Adam Duvall and Bob Eggert. Then bringing up the sixth row, we have Jason Trantham and Dan Swanbeck. Two, I think, maybe underdogs for this kind of race. They're starting a little further back than where I'd really expect them to finish today. But as we look onto the rest of the field, we may have more than 12 drivers, possibly, and there it is. There it is. Row 7, Sorvez alongside Brian Chia. Row 8, Shane Chang inside of Brian Rice. And then we've got row 8, Ken Glasser and Tyler Hagan. Row 9, Ken Estef and Rudy Samudio. And then we got row 10, Isaac Maunz all by himself. But it does look like all 21 drivers on the grid will be racing today as we get ready to watch the lights go off. We are really excited to see how this goes. Dry conditions for really the first time in the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series all season long. This is going to be an absolutely hot one as we get ready for all these drivers to start. We will keep on waiting. The drivers are all on the grid. It looks like the revs of the engines, I can hear them from outside the slow motion broadcasting booth. They've got to be starting just any moment now as we're looking, and the revs are definitely up now. The lights are getting ready to go on, and the lights are off. Away we go. We see a couple drivers with tire smoke. It's a little bit of a fight as we have right now between Max Lotto and Traver Burns. Traver Burns is siding the outside line. Max Lotto able to cut him off through turns 1 and 2. Everybody else getting through turn 1 okay right now as we look at Adam Duvall. Oh, and there's a crash. We do have a crash between Shane Chang and Rudy Samudio have gotten together. We'll have to go back and look at it, but so far, as we're making the deep run down into turn 4 and 5, we've still got Max Lotto over top of Traver Burns, David Hirsch, everybody in the front getting off to a good start, Dylan. This is looking to be quite a good race.
Yeah, 100%. Now these are the corners here at Rudskogen that you need to get right, and you can't really go side by side without there being a little bit of argy-bargy happening throughout before they get to that sweeping turn number, let me do the math, turn number 7 or turn number 8? This one right here. And then they sweep up, have a little bit of a short, straight away run before they get that going again into this final sector here. That really, really cool, that epic looking rock formation corner that is the final corner of this racetrack. I can't wait to see them at speed in just a few moments.
Yeah, all the drivers just trying to get the tires up. You can see every one of them as they're coming down the front straightaway, all in a little bit of a single line. But let's go back and look at the restart, maybe see what happened between Rudy Samudio and another driver there. You see just a little bit of the meeting of the minds, and unfortunately just leaves that 11 car just stuck out to dry. The 11 car of Shane Chang just nowhere really to go. Unfortunately, just kind of a victim of the accident. And that is just not something you want to see. But actually, as we see it live, Jacob Guyton has just gone off the racetrack. Jacob Guyton has just gone off the racetrack. That is going to set him back a little bit. We can see him as I think we're about to get the replay of that. As you can see him falling behind the 15 car of David Hirsch. Seeming pretty nicely right now, a little wide. Maybe we can see what happens here. I think we're seeing a replay. And yeah, it does seem we're still going to replay. Maybe we'll get a chance to see what happened to David Hirsch. But as it still leads right now, we've got Max Lotto, Jose Navas, Nathan Perkins, Dan Swanbeck, and Ryan Chia. That's our top 5 as we're looking at them. Actually, that is a total lie. We have Max Lotto, Traver Burns, David Hirsch, Jacob Guyton, and James McDonald are our top 5. I apologize, and you did not hear anything I just said maybe 10 seconds prior. But things are really ripping away, and now we are looking live as we're looking over top of our leader, Max Lotto. This has been a crazy race already, Dylan. Traver Burns only half a second behind. David Hirsch half a second behind him. Top 3 really isn't settled.
Well, no podium spot is settled right now, and we see some yellows with Jacob Guyton and Brian Rice in the back. Looks like the gaps aren't changing for them. We're back with David Hirsch here With this top three, right, you're going to want to keep your eyes on it throughout the remainder of this race. But James McDonald, David Borden, all the drivers just outside the podium right now, they are still very much in this fight for a top three position. There's still over 16 minutes to go in this one. And not only that, you never know if there's going to be a little bit of contact between drivers up front. We've seen it before in this season. We're already in the second half of it now, and the championship is a little bit more clear. So will we see more aggression from the two drivers up front in Lotto and Traver Burns?
You're absolutely right. I think Max Lotto and Traver Burns, both newcomers to the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series this season, have clearly proven themselves as to be the top two front runners to try and win the championship. We do see David Hirsch running in third and even David Borden running in fifth, who are still holding very tightly into that points race as well. But really, we've got 1-2, and that's where it settles. And I think you're right. How hard is Traver Burns willing to fight Max Lotto to take a win over him? And it's what we're really going to find out throughout the rest of this race. As we're just approaching a quarter of the way there, coming up on 5 minutes. Riding on board with Traver Burns as he is riding through that very difficult right-hander of turn 9, I believe it is, and then swinging it back as he gets ready to finish the lap. He has really closed the gap. It says only 4/10, but we can see it visually on the camera. He certainly looks like he has the run that he can make an effort on Max Lotto coming to the end of this race.
Yeah, 100%. We're already a quarter of the way into this one here, and Traver Burns is still being calm, right? There's no real need to try and push the issue at the moment. As long as he stays right connected to that gearbox of Max Lotto up in front, then he's got a chance to win this race by the time things are all said and done. David Hirsch as well, right? He's just hanging out in P3 right now. He's keeping cool, keeping calm, and he's keeping right in line with the top two. You never know if he's going to be able to take a victory here. Now, let's talk a little bit about David Hirsch, because Hirsch, he does not enter this one realistically in any bit of a championship threat. It's Traver Burns, Max Lotto, David Borden. They are all well in front of the rest of the field, but Hirsch does go into this one in 4th place, and that is no easy battle for him either. He's got some drivers who want to take that 4th place away from him, and if anybody in the front three collapses, well, he's going to want to pick up the pieces here. For Hirsch, getting podiums, being consistent, and occasionally getting a victory here or there would be a lovely way for this season's second half to go for him.
Yeah, you're certainly right. David Hirsch has not had necessarily probably the season that he wanted. He has had 2 opportunities to be on the second step of the podium. However, do not start at Maunz, and he also had a 10th place at the first round in Oschersleben, and then the last 2 weeks with a 9th place at Zolder and a 7th place at Barcelona. It just really hasn't been the year he's been looking for, but he does have a lot of speed, and I do think, like I brought up earlier with Race Control's decision, that we're now looking at drive races throughout the rest of the year that is going to really shine a light on just overall speed, not just conditional speed. Obviously, there's certain different mindsets of people who think what makes you the fastest or not, but the drivers right now are looking to have the most optimal conditions they can really ask for, as we're looking at a move by Dan Swanback to get over Jacob Guyton going into turn 1, and he clears them pretty significantly, as there's quite a good 5-car race between Adam Duvall, Ryan Chia, Dan Swanbeck, and Jacob Guyton, as we see them all right in the camera, even add Bob Eggert to that leading the pack as they're running into turn 4. Quite a good line that we have going on right now, as you can really see in the top left of the screen along the leaderboard, all the orange and yellow. That indicates whether you're yellow if you're within 1 second, or orange if you're within half a second. And a lot of orange really showing up on the leaderboard. There's certainly tight races all throughout the field. But back to your kind of point, Dylan, I do think there's something to be said in what we're seeing from David Hirsch right now, running in 3rd place. He's really holding tightly to Traver Burns, as Traver Burns has started to fall off this lap from Max Lotto. That this back half of the season, and we still haven't seen, with especially considering David Hirsch does have a do not start, once we get through next week, we'll be able to start to look at the points and see how the drop weeks affect the drivers. And David Hirsch might be in an opportunity where he can make a 4-run race to this championship.
Yeah, 100%. And we'll have to come back to that whole drop points ideology in a little bit, or in a few races time, because some drivers do have it already somewhat calculated, and I think that's if they have a do not start in the standings, is that rate's already being calculated because, well, it's going to be dropped anyway. But at the end of the day, it's still, you know, right now Hirsch is going to try and do all he can, but he is at a bit of a difficult spot here. If he wants to do anything in this championship, he's going to have to pass the two in front of him. If not this race, then races to come. And the gaps at the front are obviously extending. Over a second between Lynn Lotto and Traver Burns, over a second between he and Hirsch. James McDonald, though, he is only a little bit in front of, a little bit in front, of David Borden. As we saw on that leaderboard, we saw a mess back there. Vase had an incident down in 19th, lost a spot. But we're looking back at this 5, 6, 7 battle here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, even to your point, James McDonald, as we see him right now running very well in fourth position, there, as we see him. He really hasn't finished within the top 5 all season. He's obviously a mixed runner between the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series and also does participate in the Sim Racers Group Formula 3 Series, which you can also watch here live on the Slow Motion Broadcasting Network on Wednesday nights, tomorrow night, right at the same time at 10 o'clock. And does a little bit of a mix, but we're seeing finally in the top 4, and I think that's kind of where we're seeing such a dramatic difference in the changes of conditions and who's really kind of rising to the top. And I don't speak that one way or the other, but when you do get an opportunity at a dry track, it really can benefit a lot of drivers, where some drivers really have that skill set to understand how the hydroplaning and the puddle kind of works to hit that proper wet line, as we're kind of seeing over the top. And then we see a race with Ryan Chia and Adam Duvall just in front of him. Ryan Chia just right over top of him so far. He's running pretty quick laps, just holding about half a second gap, seeming to pace himself pretty well. But we've now hit the 11-minute mark of this race, and just under 9 minutes to go. Max and Lotto is really taking a handle on this race, pulled away to a 1.1 second lead over Traver Burns, and Traver Burns even has a almost a 2-second lead over David Hirsch, which this will be David Hirsch's best finish of the season, and certainly what he needs to put himself into the championship race. But you're absolutely right, Dylan. Max and Traver got to somehow finish behind David Hirsch a few times coming into these closing 5 races that we will have as we're looking into it, and that is really, as we see the top 3 and David Borden in 5th, that is all of our championship contenders so far for this season.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Oh, man, you know what? This was an issue I fell into at the F3 race last week. I said 100% way too often when it was coming back to me. Joshua Wilkie, our producer, knows all about this, so I'm going to once again try and prevent myself from saying that, Kennan. You got to prevent me from it.
That's okay, 100%, as we're looking on Dan Swanbeck and Sorbet is looking on Rudy Samudio right there. There's still a few positions that aren't settled. We really can see the race between Sorbet and Rudy Samudio still trying to settle who's going to get 18th. It really is, especially considering the uphill climb. It'll be interesting. Rudy is probably going to have an opportunity, but I think they've been playing it pretty conservatively. I think almost kind of using each other to trail their way through the race course and seemingly to work okay, as they've had quite clean races so far with only a 1 off track between the 2 cars we see on the track. Maybe 2 off tracks now, as we see the video. Having to look a little wide there to defend, or excuse me, that sort of phase going wide there, depending on Rudy Samudio. And then we've also got the fight between Jacob Guy and Jason Trantham. Still looking on to Dan Swanbeck, a little group of three, kind of like a little set of Formula 4 Hornets. We know these 160 horsepower, 1,200 pound vehicles, they are maybe not the most powered Formula vehicle that you can find, but they really are just the pinnacle of a driver's type of car, and just the way, if you want the car to go faster, it really relies on just how you're willing to race the course. And then now as we look back on James McDonald, getting a little pressure from David Borden, our championship contender. David Borden looking on James McDonald down the front stretch. Not probably going to be close enough to get there, but I think David Borden, Dylan, might be able to finish this race coming up in fourth if he keeps the pressure on.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, God, I did it again. Yeah, David Borden has been right hot on the gearbox of James McDonald throughout all of this race, really. It has been interesting, though, that we have not seen too many under green passes. Well, it's all under green. I'm misspeaking so much here tonight. We're going to continue on, though, in talking about the topic of there haven't been too many passes happening in the top half of the field so far tonight. And I wonder how much of that is because of how brief these straightaways are here at Rudskogen. It look right up to the gearbox, tries to kind of get that fight back, but all of that momentum from swinging around the outside still does help James McDonald stay in front. Yeah, I'd be curious to see these on board as we've got right now. Boarding goes in a little bit deep here. It's not going to get the run off the corner that we're going to see from James McDonald. So McDonald's going to pull away a little bit, but the slipstream is strong down here, and they do a little bit of a weave. It's just how long is this straightaway to be able to make a move at the speeds they're moving at? Not a long enough. Oh, look at that. Big cut down the inside.
Both cars, James McDonald and David Borden, both cutting the tracks on different corners there, and looking pretty good as they're coming out of 2, going into this steep downhill run into turn 3. This is one of those really heavy braking opportunities. It's a risk versus reward kind of ordeal, and David Borden runs right up under that rear attenuator of James McDonald. You can see it as we're riding right above the halo bar. You can see David Borden really getting the line a lot more than you think James McDonald is getting the line. You have to wonder at what point is David Borden going to look for the opportunity to have to stick it in there and try and make a pass. Loses a little time on the exit there, but I think that's more of a consequence of having to follow a car more than the real lap time David Borden is capable of producing right now. It's just a matter of how do we get around the number 26, James McDonald.
I mean, it's really going to come down to just trying to be a little bit patient, right? We've seen a lot of big sends into the corners, but because of the way that this track kind of cuts back with a quick right to a quick left, with all of these S's and these chicanes here and these short runs through a straight, it's kind of difficult to get a move done if you're not really close up to the gearbox by the time they enter the next corner. And I think a lot of that can be solved by being a little bit more patient on the corner beforehand, right? Maybe not so much looking down the inside, seeing that possible move, which can be a little bit, against what, as a racing driver, your inclination is to do, what you're kind of taught to do. Always look for a move if it's on. But I don't think a lot of these moves have been on. I think a lot of these potential passing opportunities, when we've seen these gaps come down to just a few tenths, I think they are missing the opportunity to get in a little bit closer and try the next set of corners to make a move instead of just seeing the first opportune moment. You gotta reset your mind a little bit, right? It's not necessarily this straightaway that you want to get a move done. It's the next corner past this corner with the straightaway in between.
Yeah, no, you're 1,000% right. As we're looking at David Hirsch going down the front straightaway, still quite a good gap between him and Trevor Burns as he goes into 1 and 2. But I think as we're looking at it, we're probably looking at 2 laps to go. And I think to your point as well, Dylan, it's very interesting the way the flow is here at the Rudskogen Motor Center. and you almost have to put together almost an uphill heavy braking opportunity, maybe somewhere through the turn 5, 6, 7 area, maybe somewhere if you're just close enough, it's somewhere where you think maybe the elevation change will help your car out just a little bit to get that braking difference. As we see James McDonald looking on to David Borden, and David Borden has gone around. David Borden getting by James McDonald, getting himself in the 4th place. One of our championship contenders, David Borden, has gone around. He's fallen back to 7th now. We'll take a look at that replay. There we go. We see David Borden carrying a lot of speed inside the turn 3. I think maybe even had contact with James McDonald getting out of that corner. And going into turn 4 and 5, just carries so much speed. Tries to hang it through 6 and around he goes. McDonald does a great job there. We see Jose Navas getting by as well, but that is a costly move by David Borden that we thought possibly had a chance to get himself in the 4th position, maybe getting a little too aggressive, a little too early.
I wouldn't say it's too early. There's barely any time left in this race. I would say that was just a tad over the line, obviously with the tires touching, but no harm, no foul. Everything after that, it was perfect aggression as we see Ryan Chia and Adam Duvall going side by side, and the switchback gives Duvall a bit of an opportunity to get this inside run. He's clear now of Duvall, but there is a train of 3 cars in behind with just a lap or so to go for most of the drivers in this field. Max Lotto, I think he will get back around, or no, he will not, to the stripe before it is over. So this is the checkered flag.
Yeah, we're looking at Max Lotto coming around the final corners, coming through turns 12 and 13. Now rounding himself through 14, a long putt away, but he is well far ahead of 2nd place Trevor Burns, and you see he takes the victory, weaving on his way to the checkered flag. Max Lotto is going to be the winner today in the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series at the Rudskogen circuit in round 7. And we see Trevor Burns, David Hurst, James McDonald all following behind. Really, overall, the top 6, 7 only separated by about 15 to 20 seconds. A pretty good little tight-knit group there for the top 6, 7 places. Then we see Ryan Chia after that move on Adam Duvall securing 9th, and Adam Duvall will be our last year's champion. We'll come away with a 10th place here today. We see all the drivers starting to finish up right now. Dylan, that was quite a race. Max Lotto obviously really kind of took the reins on things for the victory, but throughout the field there was awful lot of different opportunities to cover, and really quite a good opportunity David Borden took. It just did not work out his way. Falls back from 5th to 7th, but overall still a decent finish, especially considering that mistake that could have certainly been much more costly.
Yeah, 100%. You know, I fully respect that send. Just got a little bit too much on the outside there into some of the marbles, and all of the heat on the tires from the quick switchbacks obviously led to that moment really taking him out of contention here.
Yeah, that really was, and we see all the drivers are looking at Trevor Burns right now, a little bit ahead of Max Lotto, maybe giving each other a little gamesmanship, letting each other know that they enjoyed it. But what a good race. Yeah, and there we go. We've kind of started to notice they do this a lot in the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series, but a absolutely beautiful podium finishing order as we see, I believe that's David Hurst, Trevor Burns, and Max Lotto all right there in a beautiful order. As you can see behind them, all the other cars starting to come into pit lane. But that is our podium. We'll see who we're lucky enough to talk to in the cool down room, but I think overall a lot of the drivers are going to be a lot more excited with their result today. Even looking at the overall hard charger award, sometimes we've really seen some extreme ones, +9, +10 in the rain conditions. Today it looks like our hard charger award will probably go to Ryan Chia. 5 positions, started in 14th, finishes in the top 10 in 9th position. Really, any other driver has that up 3 positions. Tyler Hagan up 3, Jose Navas getting a top 5, which is really big for him in his championship run and getting up there in the finishing order. and getting top 5 after starting 8th. But all in all, maybe not as much mix-up as we're used to given the wet conditions we kind of had the first half of the season, and really brought out quite a good race. But nevertheless, the cream does rise to the top, and that's where Max Lotto, Traber Burns, and David Hirsch all running at the front is really nothing we're not used to here at the Simmers Group Formula 4 broadcast on Slow Motion Broadcasting. But I do believe we have our finishing order ready right now, and there we have Max Lotto, your winner by 2.406 seconds over Traber Burns, finishing in second, and David Hirsch finishing in third. Fourth place, James McDonald. Fifth, it's Jose Navas. Sixth place, Nathan Perkins. Seventh place, David Borden. Eighth place, Bob Eggert. Ninth place, Ryan Chia. And 10th place, rounding out the top 10, is Adam Duvall. Then we got in 11th place, Jason Trantham. 12th, Jacob Guyton. 13th place, Brian Rice. 14th, Tyler Hagan. 15th place, Ken Glasser with a pretty good run up one position, and Sora Vase finishing in 16th, who had a little bit of a difficult race, down 4 positions. Then we got Ken Estep in 17th and Shane Chang in 18th. We noted his issue there in the opening laps, and rounding out the bottom 3, 19th, 20, 21st is Isaac Amon, Dan Swanbeck, and Rudy Samudio. All the drivers did take the lights and all ran the grid. That is a very full grid there, and let's see who we do have to talk to. And it looks like we have Nathan Perkins. I'm going to speak with Nathan Perkins, our 6th place finisher, and see how his race went today. Hey Nathan, this is Kennan up in the Slow Motion Broadcasting booth.
Hey there.
A lot drier conditions than the last couple times we've had the opportunity to speak with you, and you were able to start on 7th and finish in 6th, getting up 1 position. But we certainly noted with the dry conditions, a lot of the craziness didn't create the topsy-turvy position changes we're used to. So how are you feeling coming out of today with a nice dry race car and a good 6th place position?
This was super exciting for me. It's been my best result in any race so far. So I think my previous best was 10th, and getting, I think it was 6th. I'm really happy with that.
Yeah, it is your best position so far. Just 4 races into your Sim Racers Group Formula 4 career, I suppose we could call it, and really able to shine on it. And obviously, as we know, Race Control made a really heavy decision to eliminate rain races as we're going into the final 5 races of the season now. And how do you feel like that's going to affect? Obviously, you've had your best race so far. Do you think you can continue it as we close out the season?
Yeah, I mean, it makes it so much easier to prepare. Previously when there's the risk of rain, you have to split some of your practice time in the rain, some of your practice time in the dry, and I just don't have the base level experience to adapt to those changing conditions as well as the other racers. So it really comes down to being able to use my practice time efficiently. I got, I think I did about 5 to 6 hours of practice on this track and got pretty consistent, and it paid off. So I'm really happy with that. It also helped, I think, like 70% of the race I was getting towed by Jose, who I don't really have the racecraft to pass him, even if my pace was a little bit better. And I think there were a few, very slight opportunities to pass, but I didn't want to ruin both of our races if I screwed it up. So I just left those opportunities go by. But I think it could have gone bad if I had taken those and screwed it up. So I'm really happy that I had the mindset to stay clean and just put in consistent laps and hold my position.
Yeah, no, I think you made probably the proper choices. We're actually getting to kind of highlight you riding right behind Jose Navas going into turn 3. And I might be wrong on this, but is this your first time debuting the pure white NASA car?
No.
Could be wrong.
I've been running that. Yeah, I think that was just one I picked off of trading paints. I actually noticed there's another racer doing NASA livery. I think it's Jason Trantham. But yeah, Duval, I'm sorry. My bad.
Oh, We got a
Yeah.
couple NASA engineers in here in the Formula 4 series.
No,
and,
I wish. I wish.
Today, your
that'd be-
number 5 NASA machine. That thing was a rocket ship, Nathan, and I'd be wrong to let you go before I'd let you thank a couple sponsors, maybe thank NASA and keep that kind of money coming in, because that'll keep your race team running for a long time. But before we let you go, maybe there's some other people that are lower funded that you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go today. But a really well done job in 6 today.
Awesome, thank you. And big shout out to my girlfriend, is always super supportive of me taking time to practice and doing all these races. And the guys have been so good with sharing knowledge, and especially the people on the endurance team. We're gonna do some 2.7 hour races this weekend. I'm going to be learning the LMP2 for the first time, and they're giving me a lot of good advice on that. So all the SRG folks, just big shout out. This is the best community there is.
Yeah, no, they are the Sim Racers group, really the Formula 4, Formula 3. I know they've got the rookie series, all of it in between, and it's really been the coolest community I've ever been a part of. But we'll let you go, Nathan. I will, when you go back home, maybe ask the group what a 0.7 hour race is, because I thought only 0.6 was in an hour. But as we let you go, brother, we'll wish you best of the luck as we get into next week, and nice finish today.
Yeah, thank you so much for the broadcasting. You guys are the best.
Now you make it easy on us. Thank you, Nathan. See you next week.
See ya.
And that was Nathan Perkins, our 6th place finisher today, and actually, I think maybe a late entrance into the cooldown room. I think Dylan has the opportunity to speak with our 2nd place finisher, Traber Burns.
Yeah, standing alongside Traber Burns, finishing in 2nd today. You know, this track, it's not easy to go side by side. You tried to hold still with Max Lotto for a long time there. Just take us through what it's like to be kind of behind another driver at a track that relies so much on all these quick left-right S's.
Yeah, the rear tires are not a fan of it. That's for sure. I'm a little bewildered tonight on how to beat Max in the dry. To be honest, he is extremely quick, and yeah, I'm just a little disappointed tonight. In the race, I thought I might have him, but I don't know, the dirty air and everything, it did not work out. And frankly, I think he had a few more tenths in the bag and he just wasn't using it.
It's I feel like this race was, because obviously you're only seeing what you're seeing from 2nd, but seeing all the way down the field, there was this one late lunge of a move that David Borden tried on James McDonald for 4th. It did not quite work out the way he was hoping, but it took just absolute guts to make it even close to possible. Was there ever an opportunity earlier on where you felt like there was an opening to go for the move for P1, but you just wanted to cool the aggression down at that moment?
Yes, I definitely, at the beginning, the very first lap, I definitely thought there was a chance to, I think I was trying to go around the outside in turn 2 or turn 3, the long right-hander, and I might have been able to get it to work if I had actually, stayed with it, but it's just, I had cold tires. I didn't have full confidence in it. I had more confidence than he did. I was quicker than him with the cold tires, but I don't know. It might have worked, might not have worked, but we'll take the points, I guess.
Well, you know what? You guys keep seesawing here, so maybe it's going to be your turn to get back up to P1 next week, Traber. But I'm going to let you have the spot to give a shout out to who you'd like to give a shout out to.
Just thanks to you guys, thanks to SRG. This has been a fantastic championship. I hope I can win it in the end.
Heck yeah. All right, Traber. Congrats on P2.
Thanks.
All right, Kennan.
Yeah, and that was Traber Burns, our 2nd place finisher today, just 2.5 seconds behind Max Lotto, and certainly our front runner to maybe give Max Lotto a run for his money on who decides to be the winner of this season's championship. And I think maybe I watched somebody get thrown out of the interview area and thrown into the interview area, but nevertheless, we're going to get an opportunity to speak with our 4th place finisher, James McDonald, started fourth, finished fourth. Let's really find out how he's feeling today. Hey, James, this is Kennan up here in the slow motion broadcasting booth. And as promised as last week, Joshua Wilkie removed the weather radar magnet from his system. And we had a pretty dry track all day. And you came together with a really good performance, really your best performance this season in the Simmers Group Formula 4 season. You didn't finish any higher than where you started, but nevertheless, a fourth place should certainly feel pretty confident building as we look forward. How are you feeling after today's race?
Oh, I am super excited. This was I love this track. This track I cut my teeth on with the Formula Ford 1600, and this was the first track that I really learned from front to back, and then spent a bunch of time racing and did officials. And in the 1600, you're like a drift car. You never stop yawing in that car, and a lot of it translated over to the Formula 4. I feel like you're constantly cooking the tires. On that bottom run, on the bottom of the hill, you are on the limit for like 15 seconds. I don't know how the tires survive on this thing, but I was pretty impressed with SRG's field as a whole. They really kept it together front to back.
Yeah, I don't want to be a judgment, but I think all the SRG Formula 4 drivers were so used to driving in wet weather conditions that they just had more grip than they really knew what to do with today. And it really showed, because you really looked down through the field, and the most any driver got was 4 off tracks, which, as we know, certain running wides and curbs, those probably weren't even real off tracks per se, and just a couple spins that we really saw. So yeah, absolutely excellent performance. And we know you're kind of a mix between here in the Formula 4 and the Formula 3 series, but given the circumstances, you think now that we know we've got dry conditions, probably expecting to see you expect to run up front a lot more as we round out the last 5 races of the season?
It's a real mental game for me. I know that I have pace on a lot of tracks to be in the top, I don't know, 5 if I'm running well. 10, I feel like I should be in the top 10 with pace, but the mental game for learning how to be a race car driver is intense. Like it's harder there than it was for me to build speed. So I was just really happy with tonight. I did a lot of practice with the Davids, with Hirsch and Borden, and we've become pretty good friends racing around the track. And man, Borden was 0.5 on my tail for 13 laps. It was just ridiculous. I am sweating just having him haunting me in my rearview mirror. But he made the pass, but couldn't close it out, and I'm glad that I didn't hit him at the top of the hill. I gave him space, and he just kind of cooked the tires a bit too much and couldn't hang on. So it was a great race. I'm really happy with the way that it was, and I hope that I can keep my head on straight for the future ones.
No, absolutely, and that was actually really my final question before we leave you to thank your sponsors and all. But that move that David Borden really made inside of you, it was certainly a little bit of a dive bomb, but I think kind of the way you were reacting, knowing it was near the end of the race and so forth, that you felt like that was probably a fair move. He left the space and he decided to try and take it, and thankfully no spin, no foul, so things are kind of maybe okay on that front. But you don't feel like maybe you took a little bit too much of a lunge on you or anything?
No, I was expecting it. I knew that he was going to make that move, and we were down to maybe 2 laps left, and he was within 0.2. I was just trying to figure out what corner he was going to try to pull it on, and then when he went on the inside, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give him the space here, and I'm just gonna see if I gotta make him try to finish it. And I knew that would be difficult, and we raced side by side all the way up through the S's, and he just wasn't able to. But no, I thought Borden was very fair. He could have dive bombed me a couple other times, unsuccessfully, I would have thought. But he's a very respectful and just a very good racer. He doesn't want to lose it any more than I want to lose it. So I thought it was fair.
Absolutely. That's kind of good to hear. That kind of really just sets the tone for everybody kind of listening to the broadcast and so forth as well, of kind of understanding just just the fair sportsmanship that you really kind of see from the sim racers group, whether that's Formula 4 or Formula 3, that, you know, Formula racing, there's certainly gentleman aspects to it, but you also understand it's a bit of a contact sport sometimes, and you have to be okay with that. And that's kind of cool to see, James. But as we look on next week, we'll get to hopefully maybe have an opportunity to see you on the podium as we get to Misano World Circuit. But you got any shout outs to some fans, sponsors, anybody you want to give it thanks to before we let you go take care of the car and pack it up and move on down to Italy?
Yeah, I mean, I love champagne. It'd be nice to have a taste of that in a Formula 4. So I want to thank Hickman Garage for all of their help with the car. Hickman Garage has been great. They got a fantastic new lift in there. So Hickman Garage for all your race car needs.
Absolutely love, never heard of them, but Hickman's Garage, anybody, Google them right now, check it out. James McDonald, well done on a 4th place finish. Best finish this season so far. Sim Racers Group Formula 4, and we look forward to seeing you next week in Misano. Well done.
Thanks a lot, guys. I always love the broadcast.
Thank you. And that was our 4th place finisher, James McDonald, and I just moved Dylan Coyle out as well. And Dylan, that was quite a good racing, but as we know right here, please like, subscribe, follow us if you want to see more of this kind of heavy duty action, not just in the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 series, but even tomorrow night in the Sim Racers Group Formula 3 series, and all week long on Slow Motion Broadcasting. We have everything you want to see. Make sure to like and subscribe, and there you can see it right ahead. Tomorrow night at 10 p.m. we have the Sim Racers Group Formula 3 series at the Barcelona Historic Circuit. A little bit of a slightly interesting change there with the chicane, and we'll kind of see how that plays out tomorrow night. And then this weekend we have the Weekend Warriors Formula V and the Spec Racer Ford on Saturday. Formula V's at Summit Point at 2:30 p.m. and 2:45 p.m. on Sunday. We have the Spec Racer Ford at Oschersleben. And then looking towards the next week on Tuesday, we've got 9:10 p.m. right before you can get to watch us live again next week on the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Race American Muscle Series at the Red Bull Ring Grand Prix. And then, as you know, next week, Sim Racers Group, Dylan and I will be back here on Slow Motion Broadcasting at 10:20 p.m. for the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series from Misano World Circuit. And that is really all we have for you here today. A well done job. Congratulations again to Maxim Lotto. It's been I, Kennan Miller, on the commentary alongside Dylan Coyle, giving really fantastic color all the way through, and these beautiful images created by Joshua Wilkie on the production set. And thank you again for watching the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 series on Slow Motion Broadcasting. We look forward to seeing you in Italy at the Misano World Circuit. Good night.